welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. Welcome to the family. We chose this one. This is episode 365, Footloose from 1986. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode is brought to you by Ho no Hana San Pogyo, a religious movement founded by His Holiness Hogen Fukunaga. Shout out to Ho no Hana.
Well, shout out to Ho no Hana, and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. We are flip-flopping this episode and the next one due to some scheduling stuff, so we'll do Fate of the Furious next week. But with us tonight to talk about Footloose, in front of the paywall, a rare in front. So this is
keep it clean.
Yes,
keep it fucking clean.
Keep it fucking clean, as the boy says, as the man says. Hold on, Margaret sent me a thing today. Speaking of boy, she sent me a picture. The quote says, "This is so fucking crazy," one boy in a Yankees cap tells me. "It's like seeing Taylor Swift." And this is Brock Collier's scene report at the Hawk Tuah Girl meet and greet. And I said to Margaret, note that it says one boy, not one man. Just one boy online to meet the Hawk Tuah Girl. And just like, bro, this is crazy. It's like Taylor Swift. It's just like, no, it's a girl who got drunk and talked, whatever. Anyway, with us in front of the paywall.
Want to talk about Hawk Tuah?
That's a behind the paywall topic. No more Hawk Tuah.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Spoiled my pick for
most 80s moment.
No, for the next Patreon episode, I was going to just do the Hawk Tuah clip, and that was going to be the episode. But
honestly, we could do it. With us to talk about it, we have the high school expert himself, the resident high school historian. I'm trying to do a nickname here. You like that, or does that not work?
It has bad mouthfeel.
It doesn't. It didn't work. Late night slumber party, Brian Rodriguez. Hello, Brian.
Hello. All those nicknames for me are very triggering. I'll get into it, but thank you for having me. It's rare, not just behind the paywall, in front of the paywall. It's rare that I come on the show anymore. I don't get invited like I used to.
You're on.
Well, you pick a lot of
more than
very shitty movies.
Anyone else? So. Like, you're on 3 times more often than anybody else.
You absolutely are.
You're on behind the paywall once a lap. You're in front of the paywall once a lap, and you're on a Fast and Furious movie once a lap.
And you strong arm yourself into like 2 picks a lap too. So
I didn't pick this one.
What more do you want?
I didn't pick this one. And
no, but you picked this from a list of movies. You said, give me another movie. And we're like, okay.
And I don't like the shit talking of my picks. I pick high art films or auteur films. Do they have a little nudity sometimes? It's not smut. It's just your American brains. Your
the
conservative
European brain could never comprehend
this. Conservative small town American brains can't wrap your head around dancing,
ear pillow wearing,
or a little bit of nudity, a little bit of tasteful nudity. So apologies.
Dicks. Full frontal dicks.
I don't see gender when it comes to nudity. Okay.
Not to trigger you, Brian, but why did you not cover this for High School Slumber Party? Were you saving this, or did you just not get to it?
Not get to it, saving it. Just to be honest with everyone out there, right? A couple reasons. Just I actually recorded, but I haven't put out episodes on anything in a while. You don't release video, but can you see me?
Yeah.
Here, yes.
Yeah.
I look very tired. I feel very tired. I currently cannot edit without falling asleep. Right?
Did you just daddy jack our podcast?
I am. I have to because I don't go on podcasts anymore. I got to talk.
Yeah, Joe, we don't invite him on podcasts anymore. It's our fault.
You don't.
I'm gonna stop if he keeps daddy jacking.
I'm not.
He's really not gonna be anymore.
I'm not daddy jacking. Okay.
You absolutely are.
I am jacking nobody. I don't do that anymore. But
Brian, we're in front of the paywall. We're in front of the paywall.
I know we're in front of the payroll. I don't know. Whatever. But my point is, that's one of the reasons that I haven't released a High School Slumber Party. But another one is like, so Eisen and I recorded an episode on a movie that I haven't put out yet. This is a movie that the Gen Zers loved. I won't reveal it.
Can you tell it and Joey will beep it? Yeah, give me it. I need to know.
Her and maybe no. I'm not revealing it because I still don't
put it
know.
in the chat just for me to read.
I'll say it's the film. It's a new film. Have you seen
I love it. I love that movie.
I liked it, but not for the reasons that other people supposedly liked it. And I think I came off so like old person on that, and it really effed up my opinion on High
Because
School
now you have
Slumber
a
Party.
daughter who is approaching high school age. You're like, what do I think of these movies differently?
Maybe the next time I release, she'll be in high school. Who knows? But kind of, and I'm gonna, I'll dad jerk it, however you refer to it as. But
However, we refer to it as.
Daddy jacking is you inserting your fatherdom in places that wasn't asked for it.
well, but
That's what it is.
But-
Like mommy jacking when they're like, hey, like look at my new car. And it's like them holding the baby in front of their car. And you're like, nobody asked for this. Why are you doing this? But go ahead.
I look back at High School Slumber Party. Please listen, Cage Club Podcast Network, with so much regret because I went down so many weird roads and didn't cover Mean Girls, didn't cover Footloose, and now when I cover these kind of movies, I am looking at them in a different perspective. It's been years since I started that show. That it's just like, I don't want to say it feels inappropriate, but it just some of it is weird. So I have to really recalibrate my brain on that. And long story short, I should have covered Footloose. It's embarrassing that I didn't. Joe, you and I covered it, of course. we covered it, of course, on Coastal Graham Bros, but that was just a different feel.
It's not the same focus. I
No,
get
it's not.
it.
We
Yeah.
were pissed drunk, okay? I don't even remember covering it. I just remember
I don't remember recording that at all.
I
honestly.
remember the hangover after. I remember not having pants on the next morning. But anyway, I will cover it.
I remember seeing you not wearing pants the next morning.
And I apologize again for that. But I will cover it in a High School Slumber Party at some point, I promise, because I just need to make a list of the films I need to cover, get it over with, maybe retire, because I can't retire without covering Footloose, Mean Girls, and a slew of other films. I will get off my daddy box.
What are you gonna call this? Like All-Star Weekend?
Are the Teenage Dirtbags still going, or did they stop?
Oh, well, almost everyone has stopped. People don't continue podcasts that make no money. You guys have a Patreon, so I know you guys are raking it in. It's taking my money, but most people aren't continuing podcasts that are making no money. That's just the truth of the podcast.
Speaking of making no money, Mike pointed out in the Cage Club episode we recorded last night, next year will be 10 years since we started Cage Club.
That's insanity.
Insane.
We're closing in on 7 years of this.
Well, that's not crazy. It's forever. 7 years forever.
Yeah, we're at the tip of the iceberg, Joey. We're not even anywhere near where we should be.
So Footloose, streaming on Paramount Plus. A city teenager moves to a small town where rock music and dancing have been banned, and his rebellious spirit shakes the populace. Directed by Herbert Ross, who did Steel Magnolias and My Blue Heaven. There's more on the director later. We'll get to that. Written by Dean Pitchford, who, as far as I can tell, hasn't written much else. Produced by Louis J. Rashmiel, who don't know, and Craig Zidane, who did the Hairspray remake with Zeph with Baltimore Crabs.
Makes sense. That's cool. Yeah.
Shot by Rick Waite, who did 48 Hours, Cobra, and Kate Hudson's favorite movie, Adventures in Babysitting. Budget of $7.5 million, made $80 million, at least in the U.S. Rotten Tomatoes, 55%, 42 on Metacritic,
55 feels low.
71 by the audience. Critical consensus, there's not much dancing, but what's there is great. The rest of the time, Footloose is a nice hunk of trashy teenage cheese. Crazy credits, even though there is something that literally every other movie that has done this has crazy credit, none listed. Not like they dance under their names. Nope, no crazy credits. Trivia about this movie. So I mentioned the director Herbert Ross, originally not cast, but chosen to direct this movie was Michael Cimino. Do you guys know Michael Cimino?
Of course. Deer Hunter, right?
Deer Hunter, Days of Heaven, Gates of Heaven.
Gates of Heaven. Heaven's Gate, yes.
Heaven's Gate. Days of Heaven's
Okay.
Terrence Malick. Gates of Heaven is the documentarian Errol Morris. Heaven's Gate is this guy.
Yes.
He made a couple movies. We talked about him before because he also did Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, Joe, which we covered.
Okay, yes,
either
yes,
main
yes.
feed or Patreon. I think it was Justin Kleiman's pick. Michael Cimino has these very ambitious. Deer Hunter's 3 hours long. His cut.
I
of
like Deer Hunter. Yeah.
Heaven's Gate is 4 hours long, or like 3:40.
Wait. Was Deer Hunter filmed in Pittsburgh or near Pittsburgh? It feels like that has that vibe.
It's a Pittsburgh movie.
Of course. And we covered it on Yinzercast. That was a great episode. I'm remembering it now. Sorry for interrupting, Joey.
That's the one where Joe edits, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
With all the Pittsburgh sound drops?
That one. Yeah.
So Michael Cimino has this thing where he like has all of his movies. There's like an hour-long party. Like the first half, like the first hour and a half of the 3 hour Deer Hunter is a wedding, basically.
So good.
and then the wedding, it stops, and then they're in Vietnam, and it's just like, oh fuck.
Yes. Yeah.
There is, I think, like a going away party or there's some kind of, or maybe it's a homecoming or something. There's some kind of big party in Heaven's Gate. He was originally going to do this, and they wanted to have a big, like, hour-long party of Kevin Bacon leaving his hometown, and they're like, no, like, we don't know, like, none of these characters mean anything. Like, we're leaving all of them. We're only following him. And then he was also like, okay, can I have $250,000 to rewrite the screenplay to basically turn it onto a musical comedy version of The Grapes of Wrath? And they were just like, no. The budget's only $7 million. We're not giving you $250,000 to basically rewrite The Grapes of Wrath as a musical comedy. You're gone. But Michael Cimino was just like, he had this grand idea. And like, it could have been like this wild, like, ambitious whatever movie, and said, it's a good high school flick. But it's just like, Michael Cimino's like, what if we took a story of like a Plight of the Dust Bowl, and we're just like, what if we just did song and dance in there? And it's like, well,
kicking up dust. That would be kind of cool.
So it's loosely based on the events that took place in a small, rural, and extremely religious farming town of Elmore City, Oklahoma in 1970, where dancing had been banned for nearly 90 years.
Banned for 90 years. Do you know how many teenage pregnancies there had to be if they had no entertainment like this? That's the first thing I thought watching this movie.
Well, there is entertainment.
They refer to it in the movie.
They haven't outlawed music, right? Like, they just have outlawed dancing, and they're like slowly clamping down. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Time out. It says listed as taking place in Oklahoma.
No. It's based on
that. It's based on a town.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, these mountain ranges don't seem like Oklahoma.
No, I don't know where this is taken. I don't know that they ever list.
It's ambiguous, I believe, but
it doesn't feel like the 80s either. It feels like it's like the 50s.
Kind of, yeah.
It's definitely the 80s because there were a lot of references to 80s stuff in the dialogue, but definitely this town is, gives you that timeless in a bad way feel, just to show how far they're set back. So. Yeah. That makes sense, but it's definitely in the 80s because, like I said, not just the music, because you could say Dirty Dancing has like modern music in a past time, but certainly there's like a David Bowie reference. There's a couple other references that it was clocking like around at least late 70s, early 80s.
Sure. So some almost was sliding doors versions. John Travolta offered the role of Ren. The Kevin Bacon role turned it down. Tom Cruise was slated to play the lead, but he was unavailable because he was filming All the Right Moves. Rob Lowe slated to play Ren, but he pulled his knee, and they're like, oh no, now who are we going to do? And so they watched Diner, and Herbert Ross is like, that's my guy Kevin Bacon, which you covered, I think, with Kyle on Foodie Films, right? Were you on that episode, Brian?
I was not on that episode.
Kevin Bacon was cast, right? So he was offered the leading role, though, of Christine, which we've covered, which you've covered, different show.
Yeah.
And the producers were like, okay, he has the part in Christine. We want you to say no to that, to do a screen test here, not give you the job, but just basically audition. Like your past audition, but it's just like, we want to see if you're like good on screen, right? Guaranteed job over there, chance at a job here. You have to say no over there so you can do this. He's like, okay, fine, I'll do this. They're like, this is going to make you a star. Shout out to Maxime. He will not accept a life he does not deserve. So 30 seconds into the casting, the screen test, he gets the job. They're like, this is our guy. He's like, cool. Then the producer, Sherry Lansing, was like, this kid's not sexy enough. He can't headline this movie. Kevin Bacon. They're like, she said, he's not sexy enough. He can't headline a youth-oriented movie like this. So the director pleaded and begged this person for weeks and weeks and weeks. And eventually, through enough screen tests, Kevin Bacon was cast. And the rest, as IMDb says, is history.
I would have liked to have seen him in Christine, actually, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It'd have been pretty cool. Like, I think that would have been, I think it would be different, like a very different movie. I don't, but I'm unsure if Kevin Bacon would have, like, sold kind of insane like
again
that,
Rob Lowe does this, who knows, all different versions. So in the Ariel Moore role, who is the main woman played by Laurie Singer, main girl, Daryl Hannah turned it down to be in Splash. Elizabeth McGovern turned it down to be in Once Upon a Time in America.
I felt like Daryl Hannah was in this movie at points, but okay.
Melanie Griffith, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jamie Lee Curtis, Rosanna Arquette, Meg Tilly, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Heather Locklear, Meg Ryan, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Jodie Foster, Phoebe Cates, Tatum O'Neal, Bridget Fonda, Lori Loughlin, Diane Lane.
Oh.
And Brooke Shields were all offered the role and all turned it down. I don't think Laurie Singer went on to do a lot more. Like, she was definitely in other things.
That's what Rachel said. Because I was like, do we know this girl from anywhere? And she was like, pretty much this. She
was in a Hanks movie 2 years later, or the next year, that Mike and I do not like, The Man with One Red Shoe. She has some part in Shortcuts. She's still working as of a couple years ago at least, but like, I don't know her from stuff. And it feels like, oh, you're the female lead in Footloose. You would be a thing, but, doesn't always work.
She's pretty good in this too.
She's pretty good in this. Chris Penn in this did not know how to dance. They had to teach him wrestling moves, basically, to teach him how to dance. Kevin Bacon could not dance. They had 5 stand-ins to do for Kevin Bacon. Like, he could kind of dance, but, like, mostly just stand-ins.
The late Chris Penn, though. I mean...
He's so good in this movie. We'll talk more about him.
So good.
The only other trivia that I really have... Oh, well, so one other thing. Diane Wiest and John Lithgow, the Reverend and his wife, are 9 and 12 years older than their daughter. So, not too much older, but they're playing her parents.
Okay.
So... I only talk about that because we just spent a lot of time in the Yusef episode of A Family Affair talking about ages and like, does this make sense? So here,
kind of.
I mean, they look a lot older than she does.
They look way older. Like it's believable here, unlike Tokyo Drift.
A lot of Tokyo Drift. I'll get to that. And the only other thing is that Kevin Bacon apparently tips wedding DJs not to play this because they want people just expect that he will dance this. He's like, I can't dance. I don't want them to play the song.
These were stand-ins,
so I can't. So he just like tips people like, don't play Footloose.
That's amazing. I never even thought about that aspect of it, that like if you're in a movie that's like known for a dance scene, or like does Tom Cruise have to do Top Gun at weddings? You know what I mean? Like,
he's too high on the list to like go to most weddings,
He goes to some though. Like, do you think that they like I think that somebody's dumb enough to try this. Somebody has no shame. Shout out Brian. And they would go up and try to get Tom Cruise. They'd be like, I
just think that if Tom Cruise, even if you're Tom Cruise's brother, if he shows up at your wedding, you're doing everything in your power not to piss him off, because he's the kind of guy, if he's pissed off by anything, if a waiter looks at him wrong, I feel like he walks out.
Oh, so you think he's so powerful that he's just gonna leave? Like, so you need somebody that's like famous enough but not too famous.
I think Tom Cruise is the kind of guy who like shows up to a wedding, stays for a ceremony, says hello after you get married, and then leaves. Like, I don't think he like hangs around. I think he's there. If he goes, he says hi, puts in FaceTime, ducks out.
That checks out.
I can see that. Yeah, not even reception stuff.
My big question, Joe, when we were talking about this a couple episodes ago about Footloose, we're talking about this might also be on a Patreon episode. Who knows? Flashdance. Now that you've seen this movie, had you seen this movie before, or was this new to you?
Never seen this movie before.
Did you like it?
I did, probably for the opposite reason of why it got bad Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Because you liked that it basically wasn't a musical.
I love that it wasn't a musical. This is not a musical. This is a movie that has music in it and dancing. Yep. I'm a fan. Excelente. I don't think that I would like go out and watch this again immediately, but I would watch it again. 2 thumbs up from Joe's. I'm a happy boy.
Yeah, I watched it almost 2 years ago exactly, just I think because I'm like, I've never seen Footloose. Let me watch Footloose. And so I saw it for the second time. I liked it again as well. But Brian, I'm assuming, as former Mr. High School, maybe once again Mr. High School, you've seen this movie before, right? Is that right?
Mr. Dad now.
As a father, I watched it again. No, I'm kidding. I have interesting history with this. But Joe, had Rachel seen it?
Of course, yeah.
If there's song and or dance, Rachel has seen it.
Well,
pretty much.
I bring it up because when I covered Dirty Dancing, I think I ended up making that a 3-parter or even maybe a 2-parter because, like, I forgot who. Like, I had Kyle on, Kyle, and then like a little Larson segment, and Rachel, not that she WTF'd me, but she was like, I love this movie, blah blah blah, right? And I was like, wait, like it was just like 3 dudes covering Dirty Dancing, and then I had Rachel on, and it was a great perspective of the trio considered the holy trinity of 80s dance films: Flashdance, Dirty Dancing, and Footloose. It's weird to say, but this is the most boy one, right? Like, this is the most. The other two feel like
Flashdance
is definitely a boy.
Flashdance is like a horny one. I think Flashdance is like a girl story, but like told for boys. Dirty Dancing is a girl movie. This is a boy movie. Although this is also like this is a daddy-daughter movie. Like, this is, like, secretly John Lithgow's movie. Like, you don't realize that until the end. You're like, oh, no, this is his movie.
Yeah, kind of, actually. Yeah.
And as a father,
Oh, boy.
I read it differently. No, I'm kidding. No,
Yeah, High School Slumber Party episodes 306 and 307.
I have a sordid history with this film because second grade, for whatever reason, the teacher decided to do a project with all the kids based on the Footloose song and the opening credits, right? I did not.
How about the Footloose song in the middle of the movie or the Footloose song in the closing credits?
No, the opening with the feet.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that the song is played 3 times in its entirety.
I see. what you're
Much like Joe Budden's "Pump It Up" in Tokyo Drift. There we
which
go.
we
we're
all
back.
love. You had a choice in this assignment as a second grader. It was you could have your family record a video of you dancing in silly shoes, or if you chose not to, you could make a collage.
How many years of prison time did this teacher get for their pedophilic foot fetish that they had?
I hope that's where they are now, but they're likely dead because it was an older lady. But
Okay.
so I think
I hope she's in jail, but she's probably dead.
my mom either nudged me to do the collage or I wanted to do the collage. Like, my mom was a very practical mother in a sense of like, do you really want me to record a movie of you freaking dancing? Let's just do the collage. That's easy, right? I was
fair.
the only kid in the class who did a collage. And I remember they invited all the parents to this thing to watch these videos. And they they said it was other things going on. And I remember my mother describing it I had to watch 45 minutes of kids dancing with your collage.
Footloose on loop.
Yeah.
On loop.
On
yeah.
loop with your collage in the background. And I don't know if she said it was torture, but like she implied it was not easy. She specifically said, and the teacher did not even mention that you were the one who did the collage and that was in the background. And she I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, I sat there like an idiot. And I was like, damn that. And like, this teacher didn't like me. So when I would think of this movie, I would just think of this teacher, and I didn't want to
Especially
see
now
it.
as a father.
But you guys haven't even seen the movie, right? Like, you're second graders.
Of course not. So I don't know what this lady's,
Wait, so you were a
It's a
second
foot
grader
fetish.
in what, like 92, 93? So it's like the movie's not that old, but it's not like the movie just came out. Like, it's been out for a while. It's not like this new movie in theaters.
No, so random. Eventually, I did see it on TV.
And you were like, this is the fucking movie I did the collage about?
I guess. I've seen it in bits and pieces. I've seen clips. This was actually the first time I sat down and I just watched it from front to back. Because also,
Interesting, okay.
to be fair, a lot of these High School Slumber Party movies that I haven't covered, I was like,
You're
saving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it till I cover it. What's the point?
Right.
5 years later, or whatever it is, right? So, yeah, you're getting a semi-fresh take because I don't even remember the last time we covered it on Coastal Grand Bros. I was drunk. I don't even remember watching it then. I might have been lying that I watched it then. I might have just watched the clips on YouTube. So...
You read the Spark Notes?
So we'll put it this way. This is the... Yeah, maybe. This is the first time as a somewhat sober person as a
sober father.
Certainly as a father... Not necessarily a sober father, but certainly as a semi-sober father, I sat down, watched it front to back for educated purposes. I know you have a higher level of audience who listens to your podcast, real, letterboxy film, passionate people who are passionate about film. So I really want to take notes this time. So that's my long spiel about the real first time I digested Footloose.
But you've seen the remake like a dozen times. You love it.
I have not seen the remake.
Rachel did tell me that Mai Tai plays what's his name in the remake, and I was like, "That sounds interesting." It's a good. He kind of looks like Mai
Chris
Tai.
Penn. Yeah, you're talking about Miles Teller. I've never heard you call him Mai Tai, but Miles Teller. Yeah.
I love how I knew that instantly.
What I thought Mai Tai was like common parlance.
Never heard that.
Really?
Dennis Quaid and Andy McDowell play the Reverend and his wife. Kenny Wormold, who I don't know, his most popular film on Letterboxd is he's a dancer in Jackass #2. He plays Ren. Julianne Hough, who is known, she's on Dance with the Stars and stuff. She plays Ariel.
And she was not young playing that. Not, okay, she's young and like a human.
She was 23.
She was only 23 then? What
She
year
was
was
born in
that?
88 and this came out in 2011.
That was all the way back in 2011?
Yeah.
Never mind. I was pegging that as like
You're so tired.
2018.
You're so you've missed so much.
I
You've just been so busy.
I did miss so much.
Joe-
Did I tell you why I'm tired?
Yeah, you have a kid.
Can I go into it for like a good half an hour? No, okay.
Joe, what did you think of your favorite actress in this movie?
Diane Lane wasn't cast, okay?
No.
We already went over that.
His favorite actress who he's always very mean about. I'm like, come on, man.
I'm not gonna call her. I'm not gonna call her by the nickname that I
Would you have
usually give
recognized
her.
her if it wasn't for like? I'm sure Rachel pointed her out, but would you have recognized her?
No, 100%. I saw her as soon
Oh,
as
yeah.
soon as I first saw her face on screen. I was like, oh, it's Sarah Jessica Parker. She is kind of charming and cute at this
I've
age.
only ever really seen her. Like, I've never really watched Sex and the City at all, but I've seen. Like, I just think of her as like forever 40 or 50. And so to see her
Carrie,
as like
yeah.
20 or whatever she is in this movie, just like, oh yeah, you were a little kid at one point.
Yeah, you were younger and cute and had like good energy. So yeah, I liked Sarah Jessica Parker in this film more than I like her in most things. But I do like Sex and the City, but for different reasons. So.
Who's everyone's Sex and the City? Like, who would you be? Or who are you most like?
I think you should cast us. Who is who? We should do around the table the other way.
Well, I'm a Miranda. I always have been a Miranda.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Joe, you're definitely a Samantha. Come on.
I know it's
Not even a
arguable,
question.
right?
I was like, this is going to be hard. Wait a minute.
It's not hard.
You're a
No.
Samantha. And Joey...
Am I a Che Diaz?
Oh, no. Oh. This is tough. I don't think you're a Charlotte.
I do.
I don't
think
know
it was
what
like
any
a
of
half
this
Charlotte,
means.
half Charlotte, half Carrie. Like
Miranda's the horny one, right? Like, she's the really horny one?
No. Samantha's the.
Oh, you're Samantha. You're Samantha. That's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah.
Like the really just fucked one.
No, but to be clear, Joey, for you, it's not the horniness that I say. Joe's definitely a Samantha.
It's like the vulgarity.
It's the vulgarity, and Joe
It's the
has
alcoholism?
Joe has this. Yes, but Joe has this beautiful thing that Samantha has that people I really admire have. That they only will do things that they want to do. That sounds bad, but I don't mean it in that way. But you know what I mean?
No, I know. 100%. I live and die by this. I do what I want to do.
They're
That's
never
it.
pushed into doing things they don't want to do.
Nope.
Obligations do not exist for them. They live their life. I don't want to say in the moment, but just like look, I shouldn't have to introduce who Joe is to your listeners right now. You all know him, and if you are in that weird nexus of Sex and the City and the Fast and Furious franchise, someone who enjoys both, you're like, oh, well, duh, Joe's a Samantha. Like, it's not even a question. But I implore you guys out there,
To write in.
yeah, hit us up on social media. You know our socials at this point. Is Joey a Carrie? Is he a Charlotte?
I think it's kind of half and half. It's a little bit of both.
Is he a Samantha behind the scenes? But he's a Charlotte on microphone. Who knows? Let us know out there, please. And again, and also just in general, if you are a fan of both the Fast and Furious and Sex and the City, please let these guys know, because I want to know who you are, and I want to have that crossover podcast. Also, adding the Sex and the City,
Sex
movie,
and the Furious?
and by the way, just not to plug this show again, Joe, you and I covered both Sex and the City films on our podcast. Those are great times.
Yes.
So I love when they go to what is it, Abu Dhabi. That's a great one. Anyway, but back to Footloose.
What is your pick for the most 80s moment in Footloose? I have four okay options.
I have a couple.
Go for it. Brian, do you have one, or do you want to think about it?
I have a couple, but you guys go first, because I want to get the hipster pick, whatever it is.
I think leg warmers is very
Sure,
80s. Yep. I think domestic violence of a
I have
woman
domestic
by both
abuse
her
as one
father.
of mine.
It was by both her father and
I
boyfriend
was thinking
in
more.
the
I wrote down
same
more
film.
for the boyfriend, but yes, domestic abuse is one of my four.
Both. Yeah, both. But I think my ultimate pick and the one that made Rachel laugh the most when I said it is just every girl's hairstyle in this film.
Ooh, yeah.
Just blanket every hairstyle is 80s.
So I had domestic abuse. I have the idea of a preacher's daughter. Feels very 80s.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I like that.
Also,
yeah.
not really 80s, but it's one of my options, but just sort of like days of old is like cruising to pick up girls. Like, oh, that guy's behind us in his car. Like, he's trying to, like, it just feels like we don't do that anymore. Like, people don't drive anymore.
I was gonna kind of like bring in like that like dinery kind of place that they all congregate at. It's like a hop, but like those been around.
Because that's, I think,
for a
why
while.
it feels like it's 50s.
That's
it's
the
like
50s.
car culture and like diner and whatever.
Yep.
But my fourth one, which again, this is going to lead into a later note that I have. Kevin Bacon being a gymnast feels
unexplained.
When is he a gymnast?
He's doing
when
like.
did they announce that he's a gymnast?
No, he's not officially a gymnast.
Oh, okay. I thought that I missed something in the movie, and they're like, "Oh, he's coming here from Chicago, and he's a gymnast."
No, he's doing like the
And I was
uneven
like, what?
bars in gym class
Okay.
and stuff like that. Like he's
on the
like doing
pommel,
all
the
this
pommel
stuff.
horse. He's doing
And
everything.
they kick him off the team or whatever.
What?
At one point, they say that they kick him off the team because he's causing too much trouble.
On the gymnastics team?
Oh.
I think so.
Oh, that's what the team is?
I think so.
Oh, that makes sense. I thought
What
it
other
was just
team
like,
could it be?
That's incredible. Okay, no, you're right.
Like it's not a
I
plot
just-
point, but like we see him doing
No,
uneven
I just
bar
missed
shit.
this. I must have been taking notes or something. Sorry.
This little podunk town, no offense if you're from this town, this little podunk town has a gymnastics team.
Well, you're not allowed to dance, Brian. What the fuck else are they gonna do?
Good point. They have gymnastics offs instead. Like, it's not a dance, we're doing gymnastics moves.
They do tractor chicken races, and then they have a gymnastics like a pommel horse next to it.
Jennifer,
And they
you're
do 2
dancing
rounds.
around with a ribbon. It's not dance. It's artistic gymnastics. Those are great 80s moments. So
All right,
for
Brian.
me, on sort of a society level, I've always been fascinated with the sort of era. I call it the Alex P. Keaton era, if anyone's a fan of Family Ties out there, of the 80s, when the parents, not necessarily in this town, but a lot of the parents were a little bit more hippie-ish, and the kids were a little bit more conservative. There's a lot of kids, not just because it's a small town, but there's a lot of kids here who are trying to do the right thing. But I mentioned it already, but when the mom calls out Kevin Bacon for wearing a tie to school, and like a
Yes.
tie is cool, and he said, "Oh, you can look like David Bowie another time," or whatever, right? Like
in college, yeah. When
in
you're in
college.
college, you can dress like
the
that.
idea that Bowie, this like far out gender bending creature of the
Pop icon.
pop icon, but of the early 70s, in the 80s, his rebellion, sort of, or his like style, is the suit and the tie like that. It's just so different than like what we would consider like what rock stars wear. And the fact that the rock star badass wear is a tie and a jacket is very 80s to me.
Well, I
And it
also
was one of
felt
the-
like that
Fair.
demonstrates itself when he shows up like playing loud music, and they're all just like, "What is this new kid doing? Like we're above this.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're like a buttoned up school."
not I'm not getting political with today's politics, but you can just imagine in your head, right? Like there's this idea that we move sort of linearly and liberally through time.
Yeah.
That we're just
Yeah.
going to keep progressing, if you will, and that's not how it goes. And again, I'm not advocating one way or another. Just to be clear,
Yes, yeah. It just swings.
No,
like
it's
a
like it's
pendulum.
people rebel against their parents. Like that's like the Alex P. Keaton thing, like you were saying. It's like the Family Ties. Like his parents were liberal and he's a conservative, and he grew up to be a conservative. That his kids would then rebel against to be liberal.
yeah. And honestly, society moves like you take. It's almost like you take 2 steps forward, and I'm using air quotes, and 1 step back.
Sure.
Right. So
Yep,
there's always like
exactly.
a little bit of like a that. Right. And
A swing back,
And the
yep.
80s was a swing back. So and you see a lot of that in this film.
That is, yeah. That's a good '80s pick. I do like that.
Also quickly, revival of religion was big in the 80s.
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
This kind of preaching was big in the 80s. So it was topical and it fit. So sorry, wanted to add that as well.
So going to the gymnast thing, this movie reminded me of two movies in particular. Number one, we mentioned Tokyo Drift. It feels like everything with the ex-boyfriend feels like the beginning of Tokyo Drift, where it's like two guys fighting over one girl who kind of wants to be with both and kind of wants to be with neither of them. And like it's very clear that the other one is a douchebag, but like she still loves him for some reason. And like is a bully with his car. And I'm just like, a lot of this is just Tokyo Drift.
Is Tokyo Drift Footloose?
No, I'm sorry. Even the first time, and again, I knew the tractor scene, I knew stuff like that. Even the first time I saw Tokyo Drift, I was like, they are, what's it ripping off? Or paying homage, perhaps.
Sure.
It is definitely inspired by Footloose. It's not even just like
That's an incredible thought.
fleeting thing. No,
the tractor scene as well is very Tokyo Drift coded. The other movie this really reminded me of, Joe, you have not seen this one, but Brian, you know this because we brought this to your attention and we talked about it on your show after fighting it for Keanu Club. A gymnast who goes to an empty warehouse to angstily work out. This is Flying. This is Dream to Believe. This is I Dream of Flying. This is American Dream. This is his very early Keanu Reeves movie that has 4 different titles.
Nice. I like movies like that. That's always a good
wonderful. But this it feels like that a lot, where it's just like there's a gymnast at the center of it for no real reason. They like are misunderstood and they have to find like this big warehouse location to like practice their art. Or like when he goes and just like angrily, moodily dances because he's just like, no one here gets me, and just like brings his beer and a cigarette and like dances alone and just like, guy, what are you doing?
By the way, what is the drinking age in this town? Because apparently they like can drink.
It might be 18.
Legally
It might
by
be 18.
age.
Yeah, I mean,
but they're not allowed to dance. Dancing outlawed. Booze okay.
Yeah, the car accident that happened because of rock and roll, not the heavy alcohol they were probably consuming.
Or that they're allowed to like just race down the street and do dumb shit because they have no other activities. Did you
jump from car to car? It's insane.
Yeah. Did anybody else think that somebody should have died right at the end of this movie after the dance? I thought that would have been the best ending. That would have been the best ending because they're really scared that the dancing is going to inspire a death again. And if they would have had a death at the end of this movie, I think it would have been like awesome.
I remember that dance was outlawed because someone died in a car accident, but I thought it was at the beginning of this movie. So when they're playing chicken with that semi-truck, I'm like, oh, here's the accident that like sets it off. But it's like, no, it just...
I wanted her to get hereditaried so bad.
I think a lot of these teen 80s dance movies were inspired by a movie, a really obvious one, that was definitely not for teens, but teens loved it, and that's Saturday Night Fever, of course. Saturday Night Fever is so dark.
Oh, also Travolta was offered the role of Ren and turned it down.
Makes sense, right? You know, there's a death sort of at the end of Saturday Night Fever. There's a lot of like, I'm not laughing at violence against women. I'm just laughing at it's like, oh, let's add this because that's in Saturday Night Fever. There's definitely the template there, and they're like, if we tone it down a little, we could probably make
it for teens,
exactly,
PG-13.
Exactly.
Brian, do you have a favorite of those 3 80s dance movies? Footloose, Flashdance, Dirty Dancing?
I'd have to watch them all. I've seen Dirty Dancing the most out of them. I got to watch Flashdance again. I have a feeling Flashdance is my favorite.
I think that's the one. Dirty Dancing feels like the one that like is best summed up by the memes and the scenes that you know and have referenced. Like nobody puts baby in the corner or him lifting her up. Like that's the movie. I don't know that there's really stuff from this.
There definitely is.
There's the song.
The soundtrack,
which
the
is
entire
amazing.
soundtrack.
I think the tractor scene is pretty iconic, and I think again him dancing in the warehouse, like you know, like angsty, like
yes,
like that's pretty iconic.
But I mean, like, compared to Dirty Dancing, compared to Flashdance, where like the water falls on her, right? Like that's known. Her with the leg warmers, that's the movie I think also where she takes the bra off without taking her shirt off. Like there's things from that have been like parodied and referenced. Like I don't think there's a lot that's known about this. This might be like a better movie than those two. I think I like Flashdance the most, but like I think it's probably the best movie of the 3.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they're all around the same in bestness, if you will. But there's something about Flashdance that maybe it's the horniness. I don't know, but
it's a good Pittsburgh vibe.
I just love the Pittsburgh vibe. I really do. Shout out to my Pittsburgh fam out there, Joe. Pretty much, but yeah, I do
Joe,
like
end of list.
No. I got Pittsburgh Pete.
It's most people's list, to be honest. It's most people's list.
That's not true.
You know what I loved about this movie is a phrase that I've never heard before. I did not remember the first time, but like, there's like not the sharpest knife in the drawer, not the brightest color, like what brightest crayon, whatever. Like all those different things are just like, guy's not smart. Sarah Jessica Parker says about Ariel's ex, Chuck, quote, never had all his dogs barking, and I'm like, that is such a specific way of saying like, not a smart guy, but it's very funny to me. Never had all of his dogs barking.
That one throws me off because it's more foot. Like my dogs are barking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There's a couple of those in here, right? Like, I wish I wrote them all down, but Kevin Bacon has a couple lines of like when like one time Chris Penn is like, no, like dancing's outlawed here. He's like, jump back. Like, that's one of them. He says there's like a couple of those like, get the fuck out of here.
But like 80s
and
PG-13 versions.
And totally invented by the screenwriter to try to get like a line going. But it's like not practical. So God, I wish I wrote the other ones down because they're just like spaceships. They were like seemingly random words that he would yell when he was like, confused by something or shocked.
Can we talk about what might be the craziest scene in the movie when the like school drug dealer gives him a joint?
What? First of all, this is incredible because it's exactly what Dare told me would happen.
I have a story. I have a related
drug
story
dealers,
to this.
drug dealers give you samples and just say, "Try this and come back if you need more." And I have never been given free drugs before in my life.
That's not true. That's not true, Joe. You've told a story of my wedding where you were technically given free drugs.
I did give Joe free drugs.
Nobody. Okay, yeah. Joey found drugs and said, "I know you will consume these."
Joey, tell him. Tell him, Joey.
What?
It's about time he knows. Joey brought the drugs with him.
Oh, they were Joey's?
They were Joey's.
For me, like as a present?
It was a gift to you.
That was very sweet.
My gift
Thank
to
you.
Brian was a gift to you.
Wait, is that why Mike Manzi left the wedding early? You drugged him?
Yeah, I drugged him with Joe's booze level.
Yeah. With my peer pressure.
So this drug dealer forces Kevin Bacon to like accept a joint, and immediately from the other room, a teacher sprints in and just like, "I know you have drugs." Like it's a setup, and Kevin Bacon sprints out of the room.
I thought it was a setup. I thought that they were.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's coded as a setup.
No, it's a setup.
I think the whole
He
school
looks back
hates
like,
this kid.
yeah.
Okay.
And so he sprints to the bathroom, flushes down the toilet, and his defense is like, "You know what that costs? I never would have done that if it was real." And the teacher's like, "Okay." And then we never address that again. We never see those guys again. We never talk about that scene again. It's just like, this is a fucked up thing that happened.
That it is awesome. That the more that you broke it down, that it just doesn't like you could totally delete that scene. Not a fucking thing in the movie changes.
The version of that I had was that I used to play. There was like the Wizards of the Coast store. They're the company that make like Magic the Gathering, but I used to play MLB Showdown, which is like a baseball version of that.
Loved it.
And my mom would bring me to the mall on a weekly basis. We would have dinner, and then she would like just like walk around.
It was
the
a
mall.
branded Wizards of the Coast store, by the way.
It was awesome. It was the best.
That's a fucking.
They had board
incredible,
games, card games, whatever, and they had like tables in the back where you could play. So my mom would normally bring me during the week, and we would have dinner, and she would walk whatever. But like I remember one Saturday, my dad brought me and my friend, and he's like, "Whatever happens, don't leave the store." I think he went to do this. I'm like, I'm not going. Like, not that I would. And I saw a kid steal packs of cards and put them in his pocket. Just like, "Hey, if you follow me, I'll sell these cards to you." I'm just like, did my dad pay this like 12-year-old to try to lure me out of? Like, I don't think that's what happened. But I was just like,
no, you were in a weird coincidence, but your brain going to you were in a setup
by
was
my dad.
really
like my
funny.
dad was gonna be like waiting around the corner for this kid to like bring me there, and he's like, "I told you not to leave the store." But I was just like, I want cheap cards, but I also don't want to like. I don't want to aid this thief. And also, my dad told me don't leave like 45 minutes ago. And I'm just like, this is so weird. But like, I've always wondered, was that a setup? Like, it's 99.
I think you should call your father on air and ask.
There's no way he would even remember that, even if it was real.
If it was real, he's like, and you passed the test.
Damn, that's what I'm missing from all my podcasts, live on air calls. Damn, I gotta do more of those. That's a good idea.
We've done a few on Too Fast.
Mhm.
I mean, I've done it from time to time, but more of that would be successful. Joey, what do you think your dad was doing when he left you in the store?
He's at the Rub and Tug.
Yeah, at Bridgewater Commons, the mall
Maybe
near
he
where I
maybe
grew
maybe
up.
he was buying or selling drugs.
Yeah, he was cornering kids in the bathroom and handing them
I
joints. And
genuinely have
chasing them.
maybe I'm guessing probably he was like my sister. I don't know what, like he never brought me, so I'm guessing my mom was doing something. So he brought like me and my friend and my sister, and he was just like keeping my sister occupied while we like played baseball cards for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Like I have no idea.
Yeah, he was just being a good dad and gave you what you wanted to do with your friend.
While
That's
also luring me, trying to entrap me. And that's entreatement.
in trees.
But this whole sequence also very 80s. I just want to bring up the Breakfast Club quickly. Just the lack of understanding of marijuana and what it does. You know, there's a famous scene in the Breakfast Club, you know, where they're all like getting high, but Emilio Estevez like hasn't done it, and like he smokes a joint and he's like hyped up like he's on coke, like he's just like
I always love.
he's on the
these,
table, he's yeah. And I'm like, what? I don't know.
I don't know, man. They grew a lot of sativas back in the day, so maybe he was all juiced. Who knows?
It's just his reaction doesn't match anyone else's.
True. Yeah.
And I do love though that the teacher's reaction is like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like,
And just leaves. He's like foiled again and just like walks out. Like if your teacher sees you holding a joint, running with it in your hand, like above your head into the bathroom, that's it. That's it. Like that's the whole
I
thing.
thought that maybe, you know, drug use wasn't as common in this town, and that when he threw it in the toilet, he was like, all right, sounds good. And like the teacher waited and was hoping he could salvage something in there that didn't.
The teacher wants it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like, so he was like, all right, go back to class. And he's like, oh, thank fucking God, you know, grabbed it or whatever.
You want toilet weed?
That's the best they can do in this town.
Dude, the one kid, before the tractor scene, the one kid's smoking weed.
Yeah, but
Because she's like, you smoked a lot of those. He's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to beat you later. And then, but like, and Brian, it all comes down to this town is not allowed to listen to music and they're not allowed to dance. They're doing everything else. There's a pregnant teen that had her baby. They're drinking and
Well, they're also not
smoking
allowed
weed.
to read Slaughterhouse-Five, or apparently
That's
any
also
book.
Pretty much, yeah, because they burn them all at the end.
Another scene I love is where she brings him to, I think, what she calls the yearbook, which is like a decommissioned train that they've just written like quotes from books and poetry and whatever. And she just like, he's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And like, they don't really explore it. And then she's like, another thing I do is I stand in front of trains while they're moving and scream at them to stop. I'm like, what the fuck is
that I like that. I'm
this
going
girl wants to die so bad.
That's a game that I.
There's a
kinda
lot of
wanna play.
chicken
Yeah.
in this movie.
yeah.
There's a lot of chicken in this movie. Yeah.
I am totally. I understand why people say we're on our phones too much. We're like looking at stupid videos too much. But there is a happy medium between doom scrolling and jumping in front of a train, and or running your tractor
Yeah.
into it. Right? Like there's somewhere.
absolutely
There's
agree.
somewhere in the middle that we can exist. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you don't need to like jump between moving vehicles and almost get hereditaried. You don't need to drive off a bridge. Like,
Well, I don't know if either of you saw Civil War, which came out this year, but there's a scene where like it's lower stakes than this, but there's a girl who goes from one car to the other car, and just like it's still scary, even when it's just like it's like that's terrifying. Because also like it looks like she really did this. Like there's a shot. I mean, I'm sure they're driving very slowly, but like there's a shot behind them as the truck is coming at them, and like it looks like she's actually straddling
the most
two
confusing
cars.
part about that to me was that she acts like she didn't realize how close the truck was. And they're on like a flat ass.
Oh, she can see the truck. Yeah,
piece
no,
of-
she wants to die.
What's the best moment of this in the Fast and Furious franchise? Car to car transition.
Oh well,
Ramsey.
Ramsey. Yeah,
Ramsey
in Fast and
toss,
Furious,
yeah.
Furious 7.
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good one. That's a good
that
one.
the handoff. That's the best one.
Is there one in every movie?
No.
Car to car
Well,
transition.
a better one or a really good one is the Han spinning around and giving the number or getting the number from the girls in Tokyo Drift.
similar, but not a
Not a
person.
person.
transfer.
No.
Yeah.
I'm talking about person who goes from one moving car to another moving car.
I mean, they pass like Baby B in Fast 10. Dante steals him that way.
There's
Yeah.
definitely in the first one because the whole heist. There's car to car movement for
Sure.
sure. Is there any in Too Fast, Too Furious?
We just did the quiz. That was not a question on the quiz. I
Tokyo
don't think
Dr-
so.
Hey, Brian does grab the ESD out of the side of the car.
Oh yeah,
Joey,
oh, yeah.
did you
That
remember
is
that?
true. That is true.
So that's you're getting, he's outside the car, somebody else is driving,
I mean,
it's as close as we get.
they
there.
jump a car onto a boat.
Boat,
Yeah.
car, boat. You're not going to do what I think you're doing. Now we're just referencing quiz questions.
Now,
Yes, sorry.
we don't have to go through them all. I'm sure you guys will do that. Next rotation, next lap you do, just look for those car-to-car jumps.
Did you guys know that I Need a Hero was written for this movie?
Did not know that.
Rachel told me that while we were watching
Did
this.
not
I
know that.
love that
great
song. I love Bonnie Tyler. I did not know that song was written. And then she took it and put it on her album after it was on the soundtrack.
That was my unofficial fantasy baseball team song in 2018 when I mounted a huge comeback. I was like, I need a win, and like that was and it worked. And so that, in my memory, that is tied to that championship.
That's awesome.
Shrek ruined a lot of things. This was in one of the Shrek films, and a lot of
I Need a Hero.
Yeah, a lot of younger people will associate the song with Shrek. There's a lot of songs that younger people will associate with Shrek that really piss me off. This being one of them, though. I'm okay with them associating Smash Mouth with Shrek. I'm totally fine with that. By the way, are you aware there's like a Shrek fetish out there?
Rule 34.
Shrek is love, Shrek is life.
Okay, so you know. So like there's like Shrek warehouse parties in Brooklyn and stuff.
Yeah.
So do you want to go to one?
This is my swamp. I need to send you the fucking Shrek is love, Shrek is life video. Have you ever seen it? There was like
I don't know.
There was like no, you would know if you saw it. There was like copy pasta like writing, and then somebody animated the Shrek is love. You've never. If I say Shrek is love, Shrek is life, and it doesn't perfectly pop into your head, you've never
Probably
seen it.
not. But some of this
Okay, I'm sending
Shrek
it.
stuff on the internet really creeps me out.
This is the worst of the worst.
Like
so.
you know that. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this one, but like it's that famous meme or photo of the gentleman with the very large penis.
That is used as like a Rickroll kind of, right?
Yes, so there's a
Yep.
Shrek
That guy
version
died.
of
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Definitely. R.I.P.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Shrek version of that. There's a lot of Shrek weirdness out there. Have you covered Shrek on here?
No.
No.
Has Mike Manzi covered Shrek 3?
Oops, all Shrek lap. Oops, all Shrek lap next, Joey.
Oh, boy, no. Two other things I like about this movie. Number one, I like that Kevin Bacon gets his mom fired from her job because he wants to dance. And her mom's like, it's
Yeah.
fine, there's other jobs. Like, I don't know which is crazy.
And they're like, there's not in this town.
Yeah.
Like the uncle is like, no, there's
and
absolutely.
I also like that this movie basically culminates in a town council meeting. It's just like, I need to speak in front of these old people and read from the Bible to prove why dancing should be allowed. It's pretty good.
This is
Yeah.
arguably a like government movie, right? Like
Sure.
this is one of those kind of
pro local government.
local government in action movies. I'm not watching this.
We needed
now.
Larson to be on this episode.
Oh yeah, he'd be good on this one.
Kevin Bacon gets the thing overturned mostly because Diane Weiss is like, you've gone too far, husband. You need to fix this. And then he goes and sees them burning all the books. He's like, this is crazy. We can't do this.
That's the most unrealistic moment of this movie. The very, very conservative man being like, they have a point though.
I don't know if he was that like. Yes, he's conservative, but like I think deep down in his heart, maybe he.
I
wasn't.
used it. I didn't mean it politically. I just meant
No,
conservative.
I agree, but like I think deep down in his heart, he's not. Maybe I don't know. You're right. You're right. He relents pretty quickly.
So then at the end, though, the ex-boyfriend who doesn't have all of his dogs barking shows up and just like, so like Diane Wiest and John Lithgow are just like outside, just making sure that like the devil doesn't show up, basically. And then Chuck is there to just antagonize them, and he gets into a fight with Chris Penn, and then Kevin Bacon does a flying karate kick,
Flying
like a
leg kick.
Liu Kang kick from Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then he goes inside and says, let's dance, glitter everywhere. We hear Footloose for the third time. Movie ends.
By the way, how bad of a decision is it to have your dance in a flower factory and then just throw fucking glitter everywhere? That's like the one place I don't want a ton of glitter just like possibly popping up in something. Like this factory packages and processes flour.
That's a really
And they're
good
like,
point. It's a really good point.
They're like, you know what we need? Lots of particulate in this fucking warehouse. And I'm like, no. That's the last thing I want in here.
Particulate, the word of the day. Anyone out there who had that, you guys out there know that these two kooky Fast and Furious fans will give you a special prize. So if you had particulate as your word of the day, you are in for $100 coupon to anything at the Too Fast, Too Forever merch store. So
We'll give you a signed copy of Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah. Jason Rainey has one.
He does.
Signed by one of the stars of the film.
Anything else you want to say about this movie before we watch the trailer and play the Letterboxd game?
I think I like this movie so much because as a person who hates all rules, I think that the crux of just fucking with people that made the rules is something that I can stand behind. At the core of this movie, it's a movie for me, which is just one kid comes in, fucks up a whole town's rules, and everybody's like, that guy's cool. And I think that that's how I like to live my life.
Quarter rule at a time.
No rule at a time.
Do you at least understand icing, or do you wish it wasn't part of the game?
In hockey?
I don't know another sport that has icing as a rule, so...
Competitive baking?
Oh, true.
I don't like the new icing rule so much because I think the refs kind of cheat it. But
where like the guy doesn't have to touch it, it can just be called?
Yeah,
kind of
because
bullshit.
they blow the whistle real slow. Guys skate real slow. It's fucking annoying. Like you should skate full speed and you should get blasted from behind.
Would you bring back the rule that you can't make a 2-line pass in the NHL?
No.
There you go.
Slows the
Bad
game down.
boy.
It's annoying.
Bad boy. Whoa.
It's annoying.
So on my list of things that we didn't talk about, Diane Wiest. I know we mentioned her, but
she's wonderful.
One of the greatest actors of all time, underutilized. I feel in this film. Look, she's amazing in Lost Boys and stuff like that, but she has more to do in Lost Boys. Here, she's just like typical 80s wife counterpoint to husband. I just wish she did a little bit more.
Yeah, she's not much. Yeah, she doesn't.
She's also the subject of one of the best Brooklyn Nine-Nine jokes, which is in the cold open, where Charles Boyle, played by Joe Latrulio, tells Jake, played by Andy Samberg, he was home to say he was sick all weekend and all I could do was watch all these movies. And Jake's like, "Oh, what was the matter with you?" He says, "I have a Diane Wiest infection."
That's great. The only other thing we didn't mention is the hot male shower scene. How about that, right?
Considering Kevin Bacon hangs dong in basically every movie he's ever been in, for him to not... Although this movie was originally rated R because like guys did hang dong, I guess, in that scene, and they had to cut it. And they also cut one use of the word fuck to get it down to PG. But like, there was dick in that
Smart
scene.
moves.
Originally.
In all seriousness, these are the kind of scenes that when I was like in middle school, I was so afraid. Like, is high school like that? Just like prison style showers.
People handing you drugs in prison showers.
Prison showers, but like, and all the guys are like jacked and ripped. Like, I don't look like that. I don't look like a 27-year-old who goes to the gym all the time.
Exactly.
Like I don't want to have to get naked in front of dudes like that. Luckily, high school was not like that. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. One of the biggest things I wanted to cover with the soundtrack. Kenny Loggins.
Yep.
Obviously soundtrack legend. Like, but there's no bigger soundtrack legend in the history of soundtracks.
You would know. You're the guy. You're the soundtrack guy.
I mean, he has 3 insane 80s. He has more, but he has.
Well, how is Danger Zone? Footloose.
Danger Zone, Footloose, but he also does the theme to Caddyshack, which was, I think, a number one hit. Right.
I think that's 1980 exactly.
No, I think it's 1980. Ain't nobody worry about me, you know? How much money do you think this... I'm not even talking about the women and drugs, but how much money do you think this guy was making to do a soundtrack back then?
I can see it going either way, though, Brian. I could see it being like, you get to be Kenny Loggins, but we pay you like $500.
Well, if the budget for this movie was $7.5 million, it's not like he made a lot of money to do the song, but like this was a big movie. It made $80 million. This is the literal title song played 3 times in the movie. Residuals from this, and also being on the radio probably every 45 minutes for like an entire summer, right? Like
True.
Even if he wasn't paid to do it, like the residuals, especially if he wrote the song.
The single sales, shit like that.
Look,
You're
from
right.
that Travolta, the Travolta trifecta of the late 70s of Saturday Night Fever, which you mentioned, Grease, and Urban Cowboy. From that point on, the goal, especially for movies oriented to teens, was not all of them, not like the John Hughes ones, to be clear, some of them, but for like movies like this was, we're not just making money on the movie, we got to make money on the soundtrack.
Brian,
Yep.
why do you think this is like a 70s thing? There's a podcast I remember called Diva Pod Vegas, which is all about like, let's just put 10 songs in this movie so that kids can leave this movie and go buy the LP down the street.
You're 100% right. I did
Thank
not even consider that. I would just say that there was a dip from those like Elvis style beach party movies that actually did do that, into like, when
A focused film that has curated music for it.
Brian, did I tell you that
situation.
Gidget was in one of the movies?
Oh no, you didn't.
She was in an
Awesome.
Elvis movie. Yeah, though I think the most recent one we did, she was
Sandra
in
Dee?
Elvis's band.
Nice.
All right, guys, want to watch a trailer for Footloose?
Yes.
We're
Not
back to
really,
our
but-
boys, and also, Joe, I'm very excited to say this, that the 2 bonus episodes we're recording next, Miracle Mile and Patriot Games, are both also from our boys, Rotten Tomatoes Classic Trailers. We've not been there for a while, but 3 in a row.
What did it used to be?
It was
fell
movie
out of my
clips Classic Trailers.
movie clips.
Like the title, yeah,
classic
the title here, movie clips Classic
trailers.
Trailers.
That's right. They never changed a thing.
bought
They
the
just
thing.
got bought out by Rotten
So
Tomatoes.
Footloose 1984 trailer number 1, movie clips Classic Trailers, short one, minute 36. All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
Okay. I wonder what I think the trailer's gonna be pretty straightforward. Yeah, here we go. Song. I like that shot a lot.
Ooh, the font,
feet
though.
on the bleacher.
Oh, I love that font.
I will say that I thought it was very funny when they're finally at the end and Chris Penn can finally dance. He's just like, hey, just watch me. And he does like a bunch of like dumb stuff and then strikes a pose. The entire room erupts. It's like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Very white people dancing. No offense to the white listeners you have.
That's another thing I thought. Like, if you have a town where kids were not allowed to listen to music for like years, and then you throw a dance, there's no way they're going to be that good of dancers. I went to Catholic school. I know what this looks like.
Oh,
You don't think that one
true for
nerdy
sure.
white guy who does like all like the wiggly worm dance with his neck and stuff? Kid's practicing in his bedroom.
He doesn't exist. He doesn't exist. Oh, so we like don't even get like it's just like Footloose
it's
the
just
song
over
and
dancing
just
clips.
shots.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like essentially a music video.
They know what they're doing. They don't need plot.
They're
People
right.
just gonna come for the teens dancing.
Fair?
Is there a minority in the entire film?
No.
I don't think so. Not one. Now that you say that, you're right.
Wow. Look, I know it's like a small town and somewhere else, so I'm not.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Letterboxd game, for reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road 2.1 million times logged. Footloose from 1984, directed by Herbert Ross, starring Kevin Bacon, Laurie Singer, John Lithgow, Diane Wiest, has been seen by how many people?
Footloose?
Oh,
Yeah, the movie we just talked
Do you
about.
want me to start, or you want to start?
How many
Brian?
people have seen Mad Max Fury Road?
2.1 million.
I'm gonna
Do you want me to go first, or you
I'm gonna
go
go first. I'm gonna say 2.1 million.
No, it's high, but it being a little older, I think it's a little lower than that. I'm gonna start at 820,000.
You are both too high.
What?
Second guess.
I thought it was gonna be really high.
Eight
for Footloose.
8,000. 8,000.
No, goober. Give me 625,000.
Somewhere in between. One more guess. Between 8 and 625,000.
It gotta still be high. 525.
I love how the mean internet is finally catching up to me dissing Letterboxd nerds. Like, there's so many memes that people have sent me and that I've seen. It's just, and again,
that just shits on Letterbox. Oh, that's pretty
that's
funny.
like a new. I think I've sent you a couple, Joey, but they're just really mean spirited, and I actually do not applaud them. But like,
Oh, okay.
it is actually a thing now.
Well, the only
Which
thing
is
I've
funny.
seen that's even like, and
Interesting.
I don't think
I
it's,
didn't
I don't think it's this, but it's just like people being like, I don't use stars on Letterboxd because I don't know what to give Twister 5 stars or 3 stars. People just like, give it 5 stars. Like, who gives a shit? Like, what are you doing? Just like, if you like the movie, or just like click the little, like, Letterboxd even quote tweeted that with just like the Don Draper presenting an idea with just like the little heart icon, just like, then say it's 3 and just say you like them. Like, it doesn't, people take it very seriously.
These numbers don't mean anything, guys. You know?
I've always, applauded you guys for just grading and liking a movie for how you feel about it, right? Like too many podcasts and too many people like worry about giving a movie they really enjoy 5 stars, and that's sort of like what pisses me off. But anyway, no tangent there. I'm gonna give up my guess here. How many people have seen this movie?
525, I said.
254,729. 254.
That's way lower
Still
than
a pretty big
that.
number,
Yeah.
though.
It's a big number for an older movie. I
Average
agree.
rating of a 3.3, most common a 3, then a 3.5, then a 4. How many of those 255,000 have this in their top 4 favorite films of all time?
It's older.
6,000.
Fuck. I think that's a little too high, Brian. I'm going to go...
So for reference, while Joe thinks, the rule of thumb we've basically used, and it doesn't really, it's hard to track. This is also just insane. And when Joe gets it right or close, it's bananas. But we usually go like 0.1%. So theoretically, 255,000 people have seen this. It quote unquote should be 255.
Yeah,
And then like a cult movie classic like this. Also, while you're thinking,
I
let's
know,
shout out
I know,
our
I know.
patrons, Josh and
Please
Michael,
do.
who sponsors Lab, Cassie Wilson, Nick Burris,
Thank you.
Alex Ellen and Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez, who? Of High School Slumber Party, Wes Hampton,
Of dadding.
Dad
Yeah,
Jacking,
dadding.
Of fatherdom.
Wes Hampton,
Of
Jerry
fatherdom.
Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden Renato, DiDonato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, Tom Price, Mike Gallagher, Josh Buckley of Whole Lot of Wolves, Michael Moser,
Yep.
Christian Larson, Tara Newone, Aaron Willozen, Natalie Absolute, Randy Carter, Josh Goularm, Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. If you want to join, now is a good time because the next bonus episode you will hear out now, if you're listening on the main feed, is us taking the Too Fast, Too Furious minute quiz and getting rocked.
Rocked. Absolutely crushed.
So Brian guessed 6,000, top 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go 450.
In between. It's a high number.
1275 was my first real guess.
Brian, one more
anyways.
guess.
3,000.
854, which is a very high
Okay.
number.
Okay.
That's an insane number for
I'm just
what the general rule of thumb
having
is.
fun.
Yeah, that's
I don't follow.
No, you're okay.
I don't follow rule of thumbs.
Brian, not to be that guy, but it would be rules of thumb. That's an attorney's general situation. You don't pluralize the thumbs. All right, we're going to go to Adam Knox 54 at Adam Knox 54, who reviewed this 3 times this year.
wow.
It's the
shit.
greatest film of
It's
all
July.
time. Legend has it. Kevin Bacon still has glitter in his hair to this day. 5 stars.
I believe it.
Good review.
Then
I
it's
like
still
that.
one of the best
Tasteful.
movies of all time. I get it's called Footloose, but do you really need to play the song all the way through 3 times? 5 stars. And then this just reminded me that Ariel is the only bad part of this movie. She's just annoying. I also don't like how this movie promotes teenage drinking, drugs, and sex, but dancing is a human right. I can't tell if he's serious or joking, but
I can't either, but the glitter thing was good, and then the other thing was like, I don't know.
number
But go
3
ahead,
movie of
okay.
all time. Number 2 is a movie,
Yes.
Brian, that you mentioned earlier in relation to drug use.
A movie I mentioned earlier in relation to drug use. Oh, Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club. Number 1
Okay, makes sense.
is Mrs. West's favorite movie of all time.
Back to the Future.
And number 4 is, Joe, a movie you picked for Film Club that stars a non-athlete
Okay.
and a bunch of comedians,
Okay.
and it's a sports movie.
Juana Man.
No, I wouldn't have picked that. A non-athlete, a bunch of comedians, and it's a sports movie.
Wait, do you know
Is
do you know
it-
the plot of Juana Man?
Yes.
A man pretends to be a lady and plays in the WNBA. Hilarious.
Yeah, and then Ben Shapiro made a new version of it like a year
Is
and
that
a
for
half ago,
real?
remember?
Oh God.
Essentially, don't you remember?
Oh God.
Non-athlete, or no, non-actor.
Oh, that's what
no.
you said. Non-athlete. That's why I got confused.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
okay.
non-actor, bunch of comedians, sports movie. Non-actor, bunch of comedians, sports movie. You picked it for Film Club. There's a sequel,
Space
Oh.
Jam.
Space Jam.
Space
Yes.
Jam. Yeah. I was gonna say.
I love Space
I was
Jam.
gonna say Air Bud.
Back to the Future, Breakfast Club, Footloose, Space Jam.
That's actually a good top 4. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
I don't know if this person lives in that town that isn't allowed to have fun based on their reviews or actually just like has like, you know, is just like taking the piss like I would, but
don't know if this is a typo or not, but as one of his most recent reviews for The Breakfast Club and said, I've laid lots of times. Maybe gotten late? I don't know. Adam Knox 54, thank you for letting us abuse your profile.
Yeah, thanks.
And Brian, thank
That
you
was
for
fun.
taking time out of your busy dad schedule to join us. It's a rarity. It's a treat when you're able to join us.
It is a rarity these days.
What
I'm
new
upset.
child milestones have you hit recently?
What milestones have it? I don't know. Well, she's rolling over a lot in
There you go. That's a good one.
the
Yeah, that's a
crib.
milestone.
I can show you. You know, I got a monitor next to
Aw.
me, just full dad mode. Right.
I have
now.
one of those too. Did you ever see mine?
It's not monitoring a kid. The next episode on the main feed is The Fate of the Furious. The next episode...
Joe, you cannot show your penis live on air. Jesus Christ.
The next episode for the patrons is the Joes Take the Too Fast, Too Furious quiz, but next week is Fate of the Furious, then Life in the Fast Lane, and then Hobbs and Shaw, because we flip-flop this and Fate, but we're doing that, so do that thing.
What do I have to do to get more Patreon episodes?
Watch Shrek is Love, Shrek is
Pay
Life,
us
the
more
video
money.
on YouTube right afterwards.
I will watch that. This is the only show I regularly do where I don't edit. So,
Yes,
like,
same thing with Joe.
Yes.
so I have a very long list of movies that I need to get through with you guys, and
We know.
just please hire me, get me on
No,
more
no, no.
episodes.
We don't pay you. You pay us.
I don't think that there's movies left that have that much dick in them for you to
It's
wa-
not
like. How long
all-
is your dick
Sounds like a
list?
challenge.
It's not
Yeah.
all penis movies, and I'll
It's
go
just
back to this.
mostly.
It's not mostly.
Mostly penis movies that you want to talk about with your two bros, Joey and Joe. Penis movies for the boys.
You American minds just again do not understand the male form and all its beauty.
I cannot wait till your daughter's old enough to watch films because I'm going to recommend some shit that you made me watch.
This is an element that Rachel knows all too well about you, Brian, but Margaret does not know yet, so...
What? Sexy movie, Brian?
About, like, yeah, that Brian makes us watch weird movies. Because
No,
Margaret
it's
doesn't
not.
live here. You know what I mean? Like, at some
Ah.
point, she will be subject to Caligula and Shame. Although Shame's a good movie. But, like, why are you watching this? Oh, because our friend who pays us money wants us to
And
watch
hopefully she asks, much like Rachel, why would your friend Brian want to talk about this movie that has so much dick in it with his two other guy friends?
Because we're experts in dick. We're podcasters.
That's
film podcasters. Okay.
Man, if we used custom outro songs like we used to, or I do for other shows, I would just use, like, a virgin. Because now all I can think about is the Reservoir Dogs dick, 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 for all things. Too Fast, Too Forever. Go
Dick.
to cageclub.me, facebook.com/Too Fast, Too Forever, or at Too Fast, Too Forever on all the platforms. Email us for the episode in 2 weeks, family at cageclub.me. I told Joe today, got an all-time review YouTube comment, so that's just get ready for that. It's
I'm
very
so
exciting.
hyped for it. I'm so hyped for it.
Email family at cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com and our store at cageclub.me/shop. And come back next week for the Fate of the Furious. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe too.
I'm Brian Rodriguez.
and we will tell you all about it.
When we see you again.
Again.